The folder, the 90K, and why 4 out of 5 businesses never sell. A man in his 60s slides a folder across the table and says the price out loud for the first time in his life. You have 9,000 and a name nobody recognizes. By the end of this, you'll own 20 companies and $500 million of other people's life work. He spent 31 years building this business. Music. And the part nobody warned him about is that there's almost no one left to sell it to. 4 out of 5 businesses that go up for sale never close a deal. So the folder slides towards you, not because you're impressive, but because you showed up. That folder is the first rung. Music. And the reason most people who reach for it never make it past the second is sitting right across from you on the seller side of the table, quietly, music testing, whether you'll flinch. Level 1. The searcher. Self-funded search and the 3.5M target. Snorts. Level 1. The searcher. Music. You are 31. You have $90,000 in savings. And music. A spreadsheet of 900 businesses you pulled from broker listings and county records. You're not buying anything yet. You are looking. And looking is its own job, one that happens to pay nothing. The model has music a name now. They call it self-funded search, and the math is brutally honest. You want a business throwing off about $1 million a year in what gets called sellers, music discretionary earnings. The cash an owner actually takes home. Music. Businesses that size trade for roughly 3 to 3.5 times that number. So you're hunting for something with a sticker price near $3.5 million. You have 90,000. The gap between those two figures is the whole problem you have to solve. You learn to read a profit and loss statement the way a mechanic listens to an engine. You learn that the owner who built it has heard music been running his personal truck, his wife's salary, and a boat through the business for a decade. And that untangling the real number from the story he tells himself, music, is the actual skill here.
Every dollar of those ad backs you can defend lifts the price a buyer will pay by 3 or 4. So you learn to fight for each one and to throw out the uns that won't survive a banker's questions. You drive 4 hours to meet a man who makes industrial filters and sells you nothing because all he really wants is to be talked out of retiring. You also learn the difference between the deals everyone sees and the ones nobody does. The broker listings come pre-shopped, picked over, bit up by people with more money than you. The real edge is proprietary, the owner who hasn't decided to sell yet, the one you reached before. Music. There's a process and a bidding war. So you mail the people who never raise their hand. The first business you fall in love with dies on the operating table. The numbers look clean until you ask one boring question. Who are your 3 biggest customers? And the answer, music, is that a single account is 60% of revenue and that customer's contract is up for renewal in 8 months with nobody else close behind it. That isn't a business. That's one phone call away from being nothing. The bank would never lend against it, and neither should you. You walk and it costs you 2 months and a lawyer's bill. And you learn that the deals that fall apart teach you more than the ones that hold. This is also where most searchers quit. Somewhere between the 10th dead deal, music, and the morning it lands, that nobody is going to hand you anything. You send 41 letters in a month. You get 2 music replies. One of them is the folder. What you don't know yet is that the folder will cost you everything liquid you own, plus your name on a document you can level to. The buyer, the SBA 7A stack, and the lien on your house never undo. Level 2, the buyer, the folder turned into a number, and the number is 38,000 dollars. You are 32. You do not have $38,000, so you learn how a person with 9,000 buys something for almost $4 million, and the answer, music, is that you don't buy it. The bank does. You just sign for it.
The instrument is a government-backed loan, music, called an SBA 7A, and it will lend up to $5 million against a business acquisition. The structure is a stack. The bank funds about 80%. The seller himself carries a note for 10 or 15%, which means the man across the table is lending you part of his own asking price, music, and betting on a buyer he just met. And you write a check for the last 10%. 10% of $3,800 is $38,000. Music, you have 90. You raise the rest from two old colleagues who get a slice of the company for it. Music. And your savings account drops to almost zero in a single wire. Then you learn the trick that buys you breathing room. Under the loans rules, the seller's note can count toward your own required equity, but only if it sits on full standby, meaning he can't collect $1 of principal or interest on it for the first music 2 years. So you ask the man who built this over 3 decades to wait 2 years before he sees a cent of that piece, and he agrees because he wants the deal to clear as badly as you do. That standby note is the difference between a deal that funds and one that doesn't. But before any of it funds, the bank sends in accountants to pull the numbers apart, a quality of earnings review, music, and they find that the seller has been counting a chunk of next year's deposits as this year's revenue, which quietly shaves the real earnings and very nearly kills the price. Music. And there's the working capital peg, the part nobody warns you about, where you have to argue over how much cash and inventory and unpaid invoices the seller has to leave inside the business on closing day. Because if he sweeps the accounts on his way out, you inherit a company that can't make payroll in week 1. You win that fight by inches. Then the lawyer slides one more page across. Because you own more than 20%, you sign an unlimited personal guarantee. The music bank takes a lien on your house. If the business dies, you don't just lose the business, you lose the music place you sleep.
You sign anyway. The seller shakes your hand, and music, for the first time you notice he looks relieved, not richer. You are 32 years old and $3 million in debt, and tomorrow you have to walk into a building full of level 3 and the operator, $200K salary, debt service coverage, the $800K trap people who have worked there longer than you've been an adult, and tell them you're in charge. Now, level 3, the operator, music. The first morning, nobody looks at you. You learn exactly what a name on a loan document is worth on a shop floor, music which is nothing. The general manager who has run the place for 19 years answers your questions like every music answer costs him something. And the woman who does the billing has a faster read on the company's real margin than you do. This is the level that kills most people, and it kills them quietly. You took on $3 million of debt to buy yourself a job. Your salary is $2,000, but the loan eats the cash before you ever see it. You learn the only number the bank actually watches debt service coverage, the ratio of cash the business throws off to the loan payment it owes. The bank wants that cushion music at roughly 1 1/4. The month it dips under 1, the cushion is gone and the payment is coming out of money the company doesn't have. So, you do the unglamorous things. You raise the prices the previous owner was too kind to raise. You fire the customer whose music been paying 90 days late since 2009. You sit with the 19-year general manager
At a diner and you don't pitch him. You ask him what he'd fix if it were his, and you do 3 of the 4 things he says. And on the 4th morning, he starts looking at you when you walk in. By year 3, the business throws off enough that after the loan and taxes, you're clearing close to $8,000 a year. The debt music is shrinking. The lien on your house is still there, but the fear has dulled into a number on a statement. And that's the trap music of this level. You are comfortable. One business paid down.
A clean 800 deuce entered a year. Most people stop right here. Music. And a quieter version of you would too. But the folder taught you something the comfortable version doesn't know yet. There are 1,000 more owners turning 65 level 4. The acquirer. Multiple arbitrage and buying the second company every single day. And you just learned how to swallow one. Level 4, the acquirer. You are 36. You own one business outright, and you're about to do something the bank would have called insane 4 years ago. You're going to buy a second one, then a third, using the first one as the engine. The mechanism is the thing nobody sees from the outside, and it's the whole reason a holding company exists in the first place. You buy companies one at a time at 3 or 3.5 times their earnings, because at that size the price is tied to one tired owner and his discretionary income. But the instant 2 or 3 of them sit under the same roof with shared bookkeeping, shared trucks, shared back office, the combined thing stops being priced like a Main Street shop and starts being priced like a real company.
The same dollar of profit that was worth 3 times inside a small business is worth 6 or 8 times inside a bigger one. You aren't getting smarter. You're buying the same earnings cheap and holding them somewhere they're worth double. That spread has a name. They call it multiple arbitrage, and it's the closest thing to free money in the entire music economy. This is where you stop being an operator and become an allocator. You hire a CEO to run the first business. You hire a controller to keep the books across all of them. Your day is no longer the shop floor. Your day is the next deal, the next loan, the next seller in his 60s deciding whether you're the one. But you're also borrowing against borrowing music now. Each new acquisition adds another personal guarantee with your signature on it, another lien. Music, another business that has to perform, or the whole stack starts to lean. One deal closes in March with a roofing company whose owner dies of a heart attack 6 weeks after the sale, and his foreman quits the same week. And just like that, you own a business with no one left who knows how it runs. The cushion you spent 4 years building goes thin in a single level 5. The builder, the management fee, the dividend recap, hold or sell quarter, and you're awake at 3 o'clock a.m. doing math you've already done 100 times, hoping it comes out different. If you've made it this far, you're exactly who this channel is for. A subscribe helps me keep making these. No pressure, but I'd hope music appreciate it. Level 5. The builder. The roofing company survives because you promote the dispatcher, who actually ran it, and double her pay before she can think about leaving. You are 40. You own 8 businesses now, and the thing you've built has a name and a floor of its own and a real title on the door. It is no longer a collection of deals. It's a holding company. The shift at this level is that you stop buying companies and start building the machine that buys companies. You set up a central management company that sits above elite businesses. It handles the accounting, the insurance, the hiring, the financing, all the parts of running a business that every single one of them was doing badly. And alone, each company pays a management fee up to the parent for those services. That fee is how the cash climbs from the businesses on the ground into the holding company at the top. And it's structured and taxed so the money pulls where you can aim it at the next deal. You learn the cruelest, most useful trick in the whole model. Now, once a business you bought has paid its original loan down, you refinance it, you put fresh debt back on it, and that new borrowed cash gets paid up to you as a dividend while you still own 100% of the company. They call it a dividend recap. It means you can pull your original 90,000 back out many times over without ever selling a thing. The risk goes back onto the business.
The cash comes home to you. You have a choice to make here, and it's the real own. Every voice in your industry is telling you to package the companies, hire a banker, and sell the whole platform to a private equity firm for a number with a lot of zeros. Music. The other path is to never sell, to hold these forever to compound. There are people who built exactly this and chose to hold for 30 years instead of cashing out because the businesses keep level 6, the holding company, 20 companies, 500 palm, and the PE roll-ups paying every year, and a sale only pays once. You sit with both numbers on a Sunday and you make the call that decides what the next 20 years of your life actually are. Music. You don't tell anyone which way you're leaning. Not yet. Level 6, the holding company. You hold. That's the call you made on that Sunday and never announced. And it's the whole reason any of the rest of this happens. You don't sell the 8 companies to anyone, and you don't sell the next 12 either. You are 47 now. Music. The $500 million in the title is real, and it does not look like anything you imagined at 31. 20 companies, filters and roofing, and an HVAC business, and a commercial laundry, and a pest control route, and a regional plumbing operation. None of them glamorous, all of them throwing off cash. Together they do hundreds of millions in revenue. And the equity you own across the whole structure is worth roughly 500 million pound paper. Music. One real-world version of this model runs 16 companies, 350 million in revenue, music, and 50 million in free cash flow a year, and never plans to sell a single one. You can see the whole board now. Music. And the view from up here is the part the comfortable version of you at level 3 could never have seen. The private equity firms have noticed what you noticed. Music Apollo owns a home services roll-up.
Blackstone Music bought one platform reportedly at over 18 times earnings.
They're running your strategy with billions, music, instead of a wire from your savings account. And they're paying multiples you can't match for the same boring businesses you used to buy for 3 times earnings. The water you fished in alone for 16 years is now full of much larger boats. But you have something they structurally cannot have. They run on a clock. A PE fund buys the platform, bolts on add-ons for 4 to music 7 years, and then has to sell because its investors were promised an exit, music, and a return. You promised no one anything. You can hold forever. You can keep a 70-year-old founder's name on the door because you're never flipping the building, music. So when a seller in his 60s slides you the folder now, you can tell him the one thing no private equity buyer can say, music that you will not gut his company in 3 years to dress it up for the next buyer. That one sentence wins you deals that money music can't. You make the largest acquisition of your life this year, and at the closing table, the final turn. Why he chose you, and the $10 trillion no one will catch. The seller is your own age, and he looks at you across the folder the way you once looked across it from the other side. You realize you've become the person you were terrified of at 32, and you still haven't answered the question of what any of this was for until a much older man makes you answer it. Go back to the first folder, the man in his 60s who slid it across the table 16 years ago, the one who looked relieved instead of richer. You stay in touch with him the way you don't with most sellers because he was the first. Over a lunch he insists on paying for. Years later he tells you the thing he never said at the closing. He had music 3 other people look at the business before you. 2 were bigger and better funded. They offered more money and a faster close.
He turned them both down because both of them told him in the polite language of the industry that the first thing they do is replace his people and sell within 5 years. There are $10 trillion of business value sitting in the hands of people his age right now. And the entire economy is built around treating that value as inventory to be flipped. He didn't want to be flipped. He wanted his 31 years to keep existing after his name came off the lease. So here is what the $500 million climb actually cost. And the bill didn't land where music you'd expect. The cost is structural, and it sits on the seller's side of the table. Music, not yours. Every year, a vast number of these businesses don't sell to anyone, and simply music close. Millions of them will hit the market this decade, and 4 out of 5 will never find a buyer. Music, and when they close, the jobs and the roots and the 31 years of one man pouring his own foundation just end. You didn't win because you were the smartest allocator in the room. You won because you were willing to promise the music one thing nobody with real money will promise: that you'd let the thing keep living. That's the quiet question the whole industry produces music and never answers. The economy needs someone to catch the 1,000 owners who age out every day. It rewards the buyers who promise to flip them fastest. And the man who built something real for 3 decades, music, has to bet his entire life's work on a stranger's word about what happens after he's gone. You kept watch next, how the quiet small business buyers got their start your word to the first one. The folder is still music in your files, and you're not sure even now at the top of a $500 million holding company that the system would ever have let you climb this high if you'd been just a little more honest about how much faster the money comes when you don't. Music. Watch this video if you've ever wondered how the people quietly buying up every small business in your town actually got their start.
Go watch our episode on every level of a family office, music, and see where this money goes once it finally stops needing to grow.